Okay, as I mentioned, this is Ian Bell from Gateway 3D. This morning on the webinar, I would like to go through things relating to the trophy and engraving industry and how best that we can utilise technology to improve efficiency within your business, regardless of what sort of type of area you're working in within the industry. Obviously, with any business process, the streamlining of these processes is incredibly important, and anything that you can do to automate that process has obviously got to be a benefit. Now, initially, I'd like to look at typical processes for that you would receive an order to do engraving, whether you do it yourself, whether you subcontract the engraving, but the order has been received. So typically, if you have a retail premises, customers would come into the shop, they would discuss their requirements, you would go through samples, have a look at the products, decide on the engraving, and then the customers would place the order. Or potentially they would make a telephone inquiry, or you would have received an email inquiry, or if you have the facility within your website to receive inquiries directly from there, then you would have had a website inquiry. Now, wherever the inquiry or the order would have come from, the process of confirming the artwork and the text that you've received for the engraving obviously needs proofing. It needs proving by the client. They need to sign it off to make sure that they're happy with everything, which is part of the standard process, obviously, that everybody goes through. But this then needs to be transferred to your production process, whatever type of machine or that you're using, or your supplier, if that is the case, because you need to transfer the information through to them. So within any business process, the transfer or the duplication of information is usually the areas where errors, if they do happen, are going to be. So what we try to do using technology is to eliminate the possibility of errors happening within this area. Now, at Gateway 3D, we have what we've called our customizable products platform. Now, products can be set up from a photograph or a graphic, and you can assign decoration techniques specific to individual products, not across the board, just on a per product basis. So if we just have a look at a few examples, I have here a silver trophy. So a very standard item. This particular trophy has been set up so only the plaque can be engraved, and if I hover over the product, you can see there are 3 different lines of text available. Potentially you could set it up so that you could engrave on the cup as well, but you would just assign a text area on there within the back end of the system, but I'll come on to that shortly. So within here, if I want to type anything, basically it allows me just to type any text in, and then you can set it so that there's different font sizes and different types of text. So from here, the simple process is just click Add to Cart. So what you're actually looking at here is a URL which relates specifically to this product set up in the way that you've set it up. This URL across here, that can be embedded into an iframe. So on the product page on your website could display this. The customers click through from the trophy section, they found a thumbnail of this type of trophy, and as they click through, this could appear on the individual product page with the ability for them to be able to apply the text to the trophy so they can see exactly what the thing's going to look like. You can have your usual product descriptions and things by the side of it, but then it gives them the ability to add to cart. Now, this is one way that the product can be set up. This will link through to your excuse me. This will link through to your payment provider, ensure that the money is taken, and then it will pass the order through. So I'll come on to exactly how the order is received shortly. We just have a different type of product. This is a 2D product. Now, obviously, with our company name being Gateway 3D, we have 3D virtual samples as well. So this is a full 3D model of a keyring that could be engraved. So in this particular one, the setup here is slightly different, and this is completely configurable in the back end on each product. So on this particular one, I click on this tab, I can add some text. tab down to, where are we? There we are. I'm engraving on the other side. Ian's keyring. Okay, so as I'm in that line of text, I can change the text from Arial to one of the other ones. Now you might notice here there's only 3 fonts. In the system itself, as you set the product up and assign what the user can physically do with the product, you can assign any of, there's about 600 different fonts that are available, and you can specify the font size so that it fits appropriately onto the products. And this particular one has been given an engraved effect onto the products, so you can see it has a very good representation of what the engraving is actually going to look like. And in this particular example, the customer can actually choose the quantity. So if I wanted to order 5 of them, I could add 5 and 5 would get added to my basket. Now, once the products are set up, either in 3D or 2D, they can be used in lots of different ways. So customers can inquire from your website if this is embedded into an iframe, or you can use this internally as your proofing tool. So if you're going to do a proof for a client, you use exactly the same model that's on your website, but with just a slightly different configuration. Your sales staff, rather than needing artwork people to be able to do the proofs, while they're doing a quotation for a customer, they can actually put a sample together. It can either be 3D or 2D, depending on how they set it up. So they can see exactly what the product is going to look like, rather than having a picture of a product and then a text field next to it, for example, on your website, and you can't associate the two together. There are a lot of stats about the conversion ratio, particularly on websites. I think it's a 65% increase of orders placed when customers can actually see the finished product, rather than making the assumption that the text that they've typed into a box is going to appear in the right place the way that they want it onto the product itself. So that is something to bear in mind when you're setting up your website. So if you can show a real preview, it's going to help a lot in conversion ratios. So really, your sales staff, I mean, while they're doing a quote, probably take them 2 minutes to put a sample together like this, and then the client can see exactly what it's going to look like. Mainly so there's no ambiguity between the client and the proof, etc., etc. So the product in itself, that's fine. That'll show exactly what the products are like. You can set them up exactly however you want, but how do you ensure that the finished product is going to end up looking the same as the engraving that you've set up here without duplicating any information? So what actually happens is whether the customer's on your website or this has been done as an internal proof, as the order is passed through by clicking Add to Cart, it will be received within our admin control panel. Now, our admin control panel has a feature called the Print Manager. Within here as well is where you would also set up your products. So in this section you can assign different users, you can manage all of your products, you can generate the URLs you need to put into your into the iframes in your website, and there are lots of different layouts for the actual app itself, so that you can give the functionality that you want to for the customers. So if I just quickly flick into the sample manager, because I saved a sample earlier of the keyring. I've been doing another one as well of a phone case, but here's a particular one of the keyring that I had on the screen earlier. So if I go into the sample, it also gives me options here, so that I've set tiered pricing for the product. I have URL links to the actual sample itself, so I could resend this back through to the customer. Right, but so once the customer's seen the 3D or the 2D sample and confirms the order, either from your website or from your proof, simply adding to the cart, it will appear within, as I just mentioned, the Print Manager. So if I just go down to the Print Manager, now the Print Manager itself, this is a live system. So for there are some people who were looking at the who registered for the webinar have actually asked for demos, so I'll be contacting you individually afterwards about organising demos, because this is a live system. Each line here is an order. So these are from Great Britain. That's an order from the US by the looks of it, for a US partner of ours. So on each order line, it says when the order was placed. You can edit the order details. You can print off your delivery label. So this would be used by your production facility. So whether it's yourself or whether your supplier. So your website could have an order placed on by your customer, and the order would go directly through to your supplier, where they receive 3 different formats of artwork, and they also, within this assets folder, they also have the text file and everything else they need to transfer that onto the engraving machines. So essentially this is an end-to-end system from creating the products yourself, allowing customers to personalise them and to order them, and the artwork that you receive is exactly the same as that's generated by the proof or the sample that they've created themselves. So there's no duplication of work, there's no resetting of text, and it's there to eliminate any orders. So the actual processing itself can be incredibly speeded up, so that the transfer of information isn't allowing for any human error, and it just gives you the options to be able to implement it into lots of different situations. So whether you are providing engraved trophies, the product itself is really irrelevant, because you can set up these products yourself from a photograph and assign the text areas. If you wanted 3D models, which is obviously gives it extra impacts and the customer can really see what the product's going to look like, then all we need is just a sample of each product, send it in, and we'll create a 3D visual of the product that then you can set up all of your own individual decoration areas exactly how you need. So the purpose of today's webinar really was to introduce how the engraving and the trophy trade can use our customizable products platform to streamline the processing of their orders, to filter orders directly from websites straight through to suppliers who are going to do the engraving for you. Bearing in mind, obviously, that if a customer on your website places an order for, as we see here, Ian's keyring, if you need to process the order, say they can order one of those, any manual handling of this order, chances are that you haven't made any profit out of it. So this order would go directly through to the engraver with the artwork set up ready for them to go. You've received the order, you've received the payment up front, and if you're using a third-party engraving company, they have a very straightforward order processing procedure from the information that they've received. So if anybody has any individual questions that they would like me to answer later on, then you can contact me on ian@gateway3d.com or 01625 355 781. So I hope I've gone through everything that would interest you as far as engraving goes, and how the personalisation can be done online and how you can best utilise our customisable products platform. Thank you for attending the webinar this morning, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. I'll contact the people who have been in touch with me already, and then we'll get some demos and things lined up. So thank you very much, and I'll speak to you soon.